Okay, right. Uh, with the NSCAA, I did a thing called Play Like Barcelona, which was basically how you can get your club to use the umbrella that Barcelona use with all their youth coaching that develop individuals, develop team play, and create fabulous youth teams. Yeah, I don't know if any of you saw Barcelona in the Champions League last night. They captured some of their old form. They've not been as good as they were, say, under Pep Guardiola a couple of seasons ago, but they're certainly producing some good stuff again. Don't know if you saw Neymar last night. He's one of the new breed that Barcelona are bringing through. I mean, they bought him in from outside, but they will give him all the Barcelona ideals and get him to play like they play. When I say Barcelona umbrella, I'm talking about best practice for youth coaching and best practice for your clubs. You know, the way they play, the way they work with their youth teams is ideally suited to you know, development of youth players. So hopefully you'll find this seminar interesting. I'll just go through the slides, as I say, that I've put forward at the NSCAA. What I'll do is I'll just switch over so you can have a look at those slides now, and I'll go through them with you. Okay, so this was at the convention, and there's just a little presenter biog about myself. So as I say, Neymar to me is one of the new breed of players that's come through Barcelona. You know, the game is always evolving, but if you have a club culture where every player develops to the best of their ability, and by doing things like as many touches on the ball as they can have, if they experience every position on the pitch, you're keeping up best practice for your club in the same way, you know, in a small version of what Barcelona do on the worldwide stage. These are the attacking principles of play. Everybody uses the attacking principles of play. It doesn't matter how you play, whether you're a long ball team, whether you play like Barcelona, whether you play like Bayern Munich. These are the five principles, main principles of play, and these are what you need to work on and need your club and your team to be able to practice throughout the season. And it was about 20 years ago when Carlos Pereira was manager of the World Cup team Brazil. It was in 1994, and he said that soccer would evolve without forwards. Even then, he said he reckoned it would be a 4-6-0 tactic, but Barcelona probably play 3-7-0. They have so many players that interchange up front and in the middle. So let's just go through and see how this works. Pep Guardiola's had a huge influence really on the way Barcelona developed over the past few seasons. You know, I know they brought in Martino following Tito Villanova, but I still think that the basic principles that Pep Guardiola brought in are there, and basically these are the principles that he goes with, which, you know, they're there really. They're what we all want to do. How we'd all like our teams to play, have the ball, because if you don't have it, it's like when you're a kid, you want the ball, and his teams hate not having the ball. If we go now on to probably if you watched last night, you would have seen Lionel Messi doing just some superb runs. You know, the way he plays is just amazing, and people say, oh, well, you can't actually coach that, but I think you can possibly coach how he plays, but you can't coach how he deals with it. So when he makes decisions, he uses exactly the right thing in split seconds. But, you know, if we think about what Lionel Messi does, you know, he spends time with the ball on a daily basis. He one touch with the ball when he dribbles. He goes slow at the defender, then bursts past them with speed. He plays 1-2s, he shields the ball. never gives up. You know, he is all those things you can coach, but obviously it's you know, it's difficult to get the way he uses the things we give him. I mean, basically he does it naturally. You know, he's the teacher that we want to look at and find out how he does. Repetition, huge for Lionel Messi. You know, he brings the knowledge and to the game, and uses it to the best of his ability, which just comes, like I say, he does it so quickly. I think with repetition, we need to think about gamecraft and how the repetition fits in with the game. Repetition is a huge part of how teams like Barcelona and all the way through all the youth teams, this is how they work out and get what they bring to the game. One of the great ways they do it is they use the Rondo warm-ups. Rondo warm-ups are fantastic because they do the repetition of everything that you see in the game. You know, they are everything they bring in, passing, tackling, intercepting, ball control skills. It's all there in Rondo. And one of the big points about repetition, I can remember I was at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea's ground, and I was sat in a seminar a bit like this, watching someone educating me in the ways of coaching, and I happened to look out the window, and out the window you could see the Chelsea pitch right outside. So, you know, obviously my mind had wandered at this stage, but I was looking out over the Chelsea pitch, and Frank Lampard came out with his coach, and the coach had a load of balls. Frank Lampard, just outside the penalty area, turned his back to the coach and went on the coach's word when he shouted turn. Frank Lampard had to turn, and wherever the ball was, he had to hit it at the goal, first touch, one time. First few times, 10 minutes, I was watching this thinking, Frank's blasting the ball all over the place. But as time went on, after 20 minutes, he was, every single time he turned, no matter where the ball was on that pitch, he was hitting it into the top corner. So the repetition of that, even someone as good as Frank Lampard, and who's played the game for as long as he has, repetition was important to him. And that was on his own pitch. So when he turned in a game and he hit the ball just like that, hopefully it would be firing into the top corner, where he was going for. And I saw Rondo warm-ups the first time in England at a Premier League academy. And one of the other things I like about it is that it gives players ownership of the session. So in this academy, they turned up, they went up to the coach, he gave them cones, and they set them all up. And you know, they just did it themselves in little groups of 3s and 4s, 2v1s, 3v4s, and this is how Rondo works. You know, and if you think about Rondo, it goes all the way back to when Johan Cruyff was at Barcelona. You know, and this is what he thought about the Rondo warm-ups. You know, it's such a good way. It's such an easy thing to set up. It's also a great social time for the players to talk about what they've done that day while they're warming up. So they're communicating, and it's very simple. You know, central player wins the ball, the player who made the pass swaps, and it can be fast. It can be 1 or 2 touch. It's such a good way to warm up players. This session comes from Soccer Coach Weekly. It wasn't actually in the Play Like Barcelona manual that I brought out, but this shows how you can build on the Rondo game and take it into a main session. So here the players have they basically 5 attackers in each of the 2 squares with 2 defenders against them, and after every 3 passes they have to move a square. So they're not only are they keeping the ball now, they're actually having to think about moving, and they can't move into a square that the other team are moving into. So it makes quite a good session to use to get players to do it. You know, it's quite an advanced session when they're playing it. So that takes us on. Patience is quite a difficult one. You'll have noticed with Barcelona, they hang on to the ball for ages and they will constantly recycle it, and it's quite difficult to teach patience. One of the ways I do is I have a very simple game. I simply pick two teams, equal sides, 3v3, 4v4, with normal rules, but the twist in the game is that, well, however many passes they make before they score a goal, so if they pass it 5 times and they score, then they get 6 points. So if they pass it 3 times and score, it's 4 points, and so on. If they pass 10 times and miss, then they don't get any points at all. So basically, in that way, you're trying to get, if teams are losing 4 or 5-0, then they know they need to make more passes. So that way, you get them to keep the ball for long periods. Okay, so this basically this is keep ball the Barcelona way. Tiki-taka. I start this off with cones. I wouldn't normally stick players on cones because obviously it's not very game-like, but to start them off it's great for the use cones because it gets them to know exactly what they're doing, where to stand. And also I've got on this 6 yards on the first 2, but you know, if you can adjust that to anything. One could be 2 yards, one could be 10 yards, depending on what kind of passes you want to practice with your team. So you go through this. It's one pass in, and you're passing to, between the 3 of them, and the players are moving around, and then we get back to the beginning. What I would do once I played this a couple of times with the cones is then say, okay, let's take the cones away, let's make a bigger area, and put in an area and have 4 teams, one on each side of the area, and then say, okay, you've got to get from one side to the other, and avoiding the other team, of course, but you have to pass enough in that style, so it's 1, 2, 3 passing without any cones and moving from one area to the other. I think that works really, really well. First touch. First touch is really one of the big things that you need to teach young players. Difficult first touch. You can have 5 players in a circle and tell them they've only got 1 touch. See how many times without anyone. If you did your Rondo thing, 1 touch without any players in there opposing them, and it's still difficult. 1 touch is difficult to you, and it needs a lot of practice. So I have quite a few sessions that I run with my players. This is one of them. This is just a simple 1-touch idea where you just different passing games. Passing games kind of went out of favour for a while. I think over the past few seasons they've come back in again because simple 1-2 passing on 1 touch is really, really something that happens constantly in a game. And if your players are good at it and their first touch doesn't blast the ball miles away, if they can control it with 1 touch and pass to their teammate, it really helps. And these are 1 and 2 touch. Now, I was at I've just recently done a visit to Fulham Academy, and I watched their under-18s coach Steve Wigley, and he was doing a first touch session. It was just a simple first touch session with their players, and these guys are really really good, high quality players, and he was just really hitting the ball quite hard over a smaller distance, and they had to, first touch always was to control and just cushion the ball each time, and make such a difference to the next move and to their ability to run with it or pass it or anything like that. And this one is just a bit more advanced, something that you can sit down and study and work out where all the passing moves are, but once the kids get into it, they really enjoy passing games like this. But also we'll go into movement off the ball. We talk about 1 touch, and then we need to discuss how the movement comes in, because movement off the ball is vital as well, because if you're going to move, if you look at Barcelona, you see all the little triangles they make, the shapes all over the pitch. That is, the essence of how they play. So movement creates the space, creates the ability, so when a player looks up, with Barcelona, he's got 5 or 6 passing options. He doesn't just need to take his first one. He's got 3 or 4 players moving. So this session, this is where there are you've probably played something like this before. There are 3 teams, and to score, they have to pass to a player who's gone into one of the boxes. You can have various challenges to this and lots of progressions. One team can become a defending team, which I think we show in these. Well, these are, the red team become defenders, so they have to try and stop the other 2 teams getting into the box. So it's quite a good session to run. And then at the end of it, 2 different ways of scoring, one with passing into an end zone and one with a normal goalkeeper. So it's quite a neat little session, and it gets players moving. So they have to move. In this one, they have to move into the end zone to receive a pass to score. So that's quite a neat little game to play with your players. So what would possibly be the final part of your Barcelona style of play would be movement with the ball and then penetrate into the final third. Penetration's, it's really important. It's the creating goal-scoring opportunities. It's getting the ball into attackers, and it's vital that the players practice this. Vital that they use their creativity to show what they can do and to use clever passing. This game I use quite a bit. Once again, it's a nice simple game. 2 teams of 3, and there's a substitute. Substitute only comes on when the ball is played off, goes out. So if a player loses the ball, then the substitute comes on and takes his place. So whichever side loses the ball, whoever's lost it, then he comes on and takes their place. So this means that players don't want to lose the ball, they don't want to knock out of play, they want to keep it. It just gets them more focused on that possession game, possession and passing and movement. You can advance it by having goals, and all the time, they have to keep the ball so they can use the goalkeeper to keep it in play. They can use and they've got it's a 3v3. So you'll see with young players all sorts of different ways that they keep the ball in play and all sorts of different ways that they keep possession. It's really, really a good way to get them. They've really enjoyed this game. I play it quite a bit with them, and I also use it sometimes as a warm-up at matches because it's a good way to get their brains thinking. And that's how we see it. Now, in the final third, creativity is one of those things you always find, okay, it's up to the individual to do it, but he has to have the tools to do it. Now, with someone like Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, the tools they use, one of the main ones Messi uses will be the feint, this one whereby you're running towards a player, you feint to go one way, and you go the other. It's something that children need to practice, really. You have to get them to practice time and time again. It's always better for them to practice against a real person if they're going to run out, because often players will say to me, how do we get past them? And you say, well, you have to unbalance them, you attack their standing leg, go past them on the other side. A cone, obviously, is not going to have the same effect. So if we play in this way and practice like this, I had a young player who he just couldn't get it. He kept trying and trying. Went home and came back the next week, and he was trying. He said he's been practicing, but he always, whatever way he went, he went that way. He just couldn't get the idea of feinting to go one way and going the other. And we were playing a match shortly afterwards, and we were losing 1-0. And he got the ball, ran at the last defender, and did a feint, and it worked, and he got past him. But instead of running on to shoot, immediately he shouted, "Dave, it works." He stopped, and I turned around and said, "Great." But at that point when he stopped, of course, all the defenders came back and took the ball off him, which wasn't what his teammates very pleased at that point. But just goes to show that the more you practice, the more they think, you can't. They say, I can't do it, can't do it. But they can do it, and they will do it if they practice. And so here's a way to practice it. You've got a player to a box, so they'd have to take a big push, take the ball away one way and push it past. So, and then take it into a more of a game-like situation. They could go either way. When the defender runs out, they have to get into the 5-yard scoring box, but can score in either goal. So it's quite a good little way to practice one-on-ones, and so they can actually show you what they can do, how they can do it, and I think that's it's quite a neat little way to do it. Most of the things we've been doing tonight, I've looked at, have been pressing, have been attacking ones. If we now look at what one of the main defensive things that Barcelona use, one of their main defensive tactics is pressing. They'll press high up the pitch. As soon as they lose the ball, wherever they've lost it, if you look at someone like Lionel Messi, you'll often hear people say, "Wow, what a great defender he is," because he's the first one to lose the ball. He'll win it back. Doesn't give up. Doesn't stand there with his hands on his head. You don't find any of that with the Barcelona players. All of them will put the effort in to win the ball back straight away. And pressing is it's a vital part of their game. If you lose it, like we were talking about Pep Guardiola before, I think you'll see that now at Bayern Munich. Lose the ball, win it back straight away, because you need the ball to attack your opponents, and well, they do such great things with the ball that they need it to play their game. So pressing, a bit like the 1v1s, except this time it's going to be a simple player has the ball and he has to shield it. So he's holding up them. If we take that into a game, in this game, when the player has the ball, he has to take 3 touches before he can pass. This just gives time for the players to press him and force him away from goal. It's just a simple little game, great stuff, and you'll find that kids enjoy this one. Here we have, pass it out, and he has to beat the player, hold up play in his own half, and attack from there. One of the things that we need to look at are challenges. When we're playing all these sessions, individual players are different to each other, and they will need different challenges. They set the scene, they focus the learning task, and they help the different needs of players in your group. So these are some of the ideas that you can use in any of the sessions we've seen tonight. And at the bottom is the last 2 are basically questions to try and bring out where players have made mistakes, try and bring them out and get them to talk about what they're doing, and to talk about the challenges within that, rather than talk about whether we've had success, whether we've had failure. Just talk about challenges, whether we can do the challenges, and if we can't do them, why can't we do those challenges? And that helps the player to then go away and focus on what he can do and how he can change those challenges and meet them. Within that, then, players are going to make mistakes. The last thing we want to do is make mistakes something that players fear. Even in the Premier League, I hear that a lot of the players who are brilliant at doing things, when they run past on the same side as the coaches are sitting and the managers are sitting, they do less. They'll do less in the way of creativity and clever play, because they're frightened of making a mistake in front of the manager. We don't want that at our clubs. Here's 3 ways to manage mistakes. Create an atmosphere at the club where you will allow, you allow players to try their skills and make decisions, which gives them a way of managing their mistakes. And these are 3 ways of doing it. You can also give them clues to help them out, and you also need to manage your own mistakes. Don't feel bad if you do something wrong. I mean, I took a session a couple of nights ago, and it was just going totally wrong, and sometimes sessions do go wrong. sometimes the players don't pick up what you want them to do, and it takes a while. So think about your own mistakes, and you have to manage yourself. Don't let anything like that put you off coaching. So let's just go back then to where we started, attacking principles of play. These are the 5 things that we need to think about. These are the 5 things that Barcelona do well. And finally, let's not forget why we are doing all this. What we think about these are the type of players that we'll be going back to our clubs tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. These are the type of players I'll be picking up and talking to and running sessions with. All different sizes, all different levels of development, but by giving them their own sets of challenges, then hopefully we can develop them and bring them on and help them to play in a way that they feel it would be like Barcelona. So I hope that has given you some idea of what my lecture at the NSCAA was all about, and that you have got something out of those sessions. There's a link below this webinar, and if you click on it, you can get a couple of possession sessions that I have put together for Soccer Coach Weekly. You can get them for free. Just click on the link and fill in your email address, and they'll be sent to you. So hopefully that's something that you can do. And thank you very much for watching. And I hope all your sessions go well with your team. Good night.